I'm your host, Loren Meadows of GatorBaitMedia.com, with the best shoe game in the Gator media. And the inevitable took place on Sunday with the dismissal of Billy Napier as head football coach. What led to such a historically bad 4 years? Where do the Gators turn for a so-called home run hire? And who are the names that could possibly knock this thing out of the park? We get into it with Edgar Thompson, the Orlando Sentinel, and Swamp Things podcast, and my man Noah Ram of the Gainesville Sun, as well as your thoughts on the state of the program, and is the obvious choice the answer? And like we always do about this time, Kicks of the Week is in the building, as well as Hyper Have At It. The Sidelines team would like to thank our sponsors, Melton Law and Titan MRI. Subscribe to the Lowdown with Loren Meadows on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our partner shows such as the Buddy Martin Show, SEC Sidelines, and others on the Sidelines Live Network. And follow yours truly on Instagram at Ohio Gator for Life and X at Real Ohio Gator. Let's get to it. So we knew it was coming at some point in time. We didn't know when, how, but it was coming. And the dismissal of Billy Napier was just, what people expected. Many pointed to the Mississippi State game. We even heard win or loss that Billy Napier was going to be let go. And, just one of those things. And I caution people, people that said it was too early or they shouldn't have done it, let him finish out the season. Just keep in mind that a couple things happened in the 4 years under Billy Napier. The first was the first 2 years, there was a historically bad defense. Numbers on defense that the Gators had not seen for quite some time. And then the issue, once the defense kind of got straightened out, the issue became, should Billy Napier hire an offensive coordinator? Does he need a different play caller? And I'm one to say that as the head coach at the University of Florida, there is way too much going on during a game and during the week where being the primary play caller, I don't care how many people you got running around the Heavener Center in a Jordan shirt, how many people are analysts, quality control, and he's got some good ones. There is still too much to be the primary play caller. So then the problem became the offense in some ways. But I tend to think that this thing started from day one when it was very clear that this was a team that wasn't working very hard Monday through Thursday. Now, that's not to say they weren't trying very hard and things like that. But to me, as a coach, you set a certain standard for the way that your team wants to practice. And Billy Napier came out and said last year they had to change the way they practice. So right there lets me know that it was far more than somebody else with the headset sitting up in the press box or down on the field calling the plays. This was a bigger issue, and it was on both sides of the ball. We can pinpoint special teams mistakes as well, and it just never looked great. I mean, I think they blocked one punt in 4 years. So it wasn't just a situation where, if he'd had an offensive coordinator, I know Scott Strickland said it's the reason we're there now. Maybe he's right. But I tend to think that there's more reasons where a team is the worst that it's been prior to basically since World War II. And remember, Florida had a 0-10, 0-10-1, 0-11 season with that. And even Doug Dickey's record over that time period was better than Billy Napier's. So a place like Florida where the expectations are high, you got to get it. And I just don't think Billy Napier got it as a whole. I think the football was never where it needed to be. And like you've heard me say a million times, you're judged on those 12 Saturdays a year. That's it. All that other stuff is fluff. Let's face it. It just is. All that other thing. I mean, to me, I expect guys to behave. I expect people to go to class. It's college. You should do all those things. But when it comes down to it, you got to bust chops. And you can't bust chops at a below 500 record. So, unfortunately, I mean, like I've said before, Billy Napier was always gracious to me, always answer my questions, look me in the eye. I got to spend time with him at the Final Four last year, uh, or earlier this year, excuse me. And then the week before, um, he allowed my nephews to come and tour the football facility. And, so very, very gracious to Billy Napier for the way that he treated me as a member of the media and just a member of the community. But it's that same thing of the football. And then if I could say one thing off the field, I don't think he had the greatest relationship with the media. And I don't know where that came from. I'm going to go to some people that know a little bit more about it than I do. We'll be joined by Edgar Thompson here shortly, and he can kind of discuss that. And I want to dive deep into that with him now that Coach Napier is gone. Noah Ram has been around. He was there as a student with the Independent Alligator, now working with the Gainesville Sun. So, what are their thoughts on Billy when it comes to community engagement and things like that? And where do things go? So, we'll get into all that, but I think it's time to turn the page. We can sit here and unpack this thing, but, for me, it's who's next. And we'll get your thoughts. You hear a lot of names, Kiffin or bust, Marcus Freeman, James Franklin, among others. And, my question is, who is that home run hire? Is it Lane Kiffin? Is he a home run hire? We'll ask. We'll take a dive. I mean, a lot of people seem to think so, but we really don't know. So as we unpack this thing moving forward, I want to say that I have a lot of respect for Billy Gonzalez. When I was a coach, I would follow his talks, his videos, a lot of things that I would do with my guys. I got from Coach Gonzalez, blocking on the perimeter, all those good things. And he's a guy that's been around the block and also obviously loves the University of Florida. Can Russ Callaway and Ryan O'Hara get things together with his offense? I mean, there's still Jabbar Jalouk there. I think Rob Sale is a great offensive line coach. I know people disagree, but I tend to remind you that the last two All-Americans that Florida has had were offensive linemen. So do that with, take that as you may. So, this is an opportunity for a team to, get a few more wins, get bowl eligible, be playing meaningful football in December, and maybe give the guys an opportunity to either audition for the new head man or who tends to come in after or where they may want to go elsewhere. So I think there's a lot of football to play for, some rivalry games. Florida definitely don't want to go up to Kentucky and lose. Obviously, the cocktail party is waiting in the wings. And how about Billy Gonzalez going up to Jacksonville and getting a win? I mean, Florida definitely has the roster to do so. They were right in the game until DJ Lagway got hurt. And maybe this is the game where Lagway really puts it all together and they get one. And then you go on from there. Obviously, you want to beat Tennessee and you want to beat Florida State. So you've got things to play for in the future with this football program. Take a week off, get healthy. And then next Sunday, they need to come in there ready to work. And, I hope that they don't just take Billy Napier's blueprint and try to just stay status quo. Change some things up. A lot of guys have been a lot of places, do some different things. But, for the most part, let's just continue to keep pushing as a football program and see who's there this time next year. I mean, it'll be interesting. And with that, bring in my man, Brenden Martin, executive producer, for his thoughts. Got his shades on. I know you're not in mourning because I think you were happier than anybody. So, I don't know what's going on with the shades. But, Brenden, we've been talking about this from, I always like to say about 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Utah. But, Billy Napier was let go, and now we move on. And my thing, and you've heard me say this, is we keep running this cycle, we're going to be Nebraska. But just your thoughts on the dismissal and where this football program needs to go next.
Well, you wear shades to a funeral, don't you? I You don't want to show people that you've been crying your eyes out. First of all, I don't dance on people's graves. I think I've been pretty chill about all of this.
Absolutely.
I've given him I gave him every chance to like everything he was doing. I have my personal opinions about all those things, but he gone. Just like the next one. I mean, there's really no point in ruminating on the fact that what he did was just not at the standard. It's not even standard. He just didn't win, and that's it. And the rest of it is pretty. I mean, lock, stock, and barrel as far as what we saw was. I will never think he will ever overcome the whole not having an OC. I think that always bit him in the ass. I think he did try to get some people, but I think his reputation probably preceded him and his stubbornness probably preceded him. And people didn't think, well, why am I going to go be the offensive coordinator? And I'm just going to be sort of the dummy offensive coordinator. I'm not going to really be the OC because he really wants to stay faced with boosters. Someone told me the other day that boosters didn't matter anymore. I said, boosters matter more than ever.
Right, no doubt.
And I'm like,
absolutely. I was at a meeting on Friday in another sport. They definitely matter.
They definitely
matter. Yeah, no doubt.
They matter more than ever.
Right.
Because we have an unsustainable business model right now. So it really matters. So, deep pockets matter right now.
Right, no doubt.
But that's another story. I think, for me, unfortunately, which is something I didn't really think or saw coming, was what the F happened to Lagway thing. I really don't understand. Like that to me is like now I feel like should be investigated by Congress or something because I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that drop in talent level. I don't. That's got to be some sort of coaching or something wrong. I don't know. And then just no transparency. I think Gator fans get a lot of flack. But I think the coaches that really get it understand that there's a level of excellence that's, ingrained and being a Gator fan. And I think that's what you want to be. I think that's what you want to strive for. It's all about winning. So I think I'm wearing my shades tonight to turn the page, to have a little funeral. Good luck to Billy. Seems like a good guy. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
And this is something
he left us stocked with talent. So now let's talk about what's next is how the F are you going to keep everybody and, and who are you going to bring in? Because I love Billy Gonzalez, but I don't know if that's going to be a really good fit forever. Let's bring in Edgar Thompson and he can tell you all about it. Hello, Edgar.
Hey, what's up, Edgar? Real quick, too, before we get started, I kind of forgot this in the intro, but shout out to Alex Condon, who was named to the AP All-American first team preseason basketball team. I think he's the first since Joakim Noah to be preseason All-American. Obviously, Walter Clayton was last year, but, we'll get into that. But I just wanted to hit that in the intro. And everybody talks about Miles Graham, but I want to give a shout-out to Ernest Graham as well, the Santa Fe high school football coach, who I think has won more games in a year than Santa Fe won like the last 7. I think they're 6-2 right now. And we had Ernest on the show during the preseason. So shout out to Ernest Graham and the job he's doing at Santa Fe as well. But Edgar, how you doing?
I look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa here.
You all good, man. If Brenden can straighten you out a little bit, but
no, I'm doing well. There we go. Yeah, so Walter was the first AP first team All-American ever in school history.
Yeah.
So
postseason, right? Yeah.
That 2 in a row.
Yeah.
He's terrific. And I tell you, when I saw him at media availability 3 weeks ago, let's say, man, he looks different. He's lean. He said he's down to 5.5 body fat and he's added like 10 pounds. And he looks like it. He looks stronger. And if he can stay healthy with his ankles and things, which kind of plagued him the last month and a half. I mean, he's such a good passer. Man, he plays hard. He plays above the rim. He's got a real chance. But I tell you, Tommy Houck might be the best player on the team.
I would agree. I had a conversation with a couple former Florida Gators that were on a Final Four team. I won't name names, but they were a little skeptical about where this team could go, and we'll talk basketball a little later. But I will say I had to disagree with him. I think this is a team that, they seem to be gelling together. And nowadays, man, hoops is hooping, and you got some guys that can go. Boogie Flynn, I talked to him at the game on Saturday. You got Xavier Lee, CJ Ingram and Alex Lloyd and the Brown brothers. And like you said, Thomas Houck I think, elevated his game to another level. I mean, I don't see any reason why. I always say, if you make it to the second weekend, you can go to the Final Four. And I think this is a second weekend team for sure. I mean, and I think they'll be the SEC will be down, but their non-conference schedule is so tough that I think they're going to be battle tested. And I could see them making another run and making it to Indy, no doubt.
Well, you get through the first weekend, like you said, and then it's just like you can lose in the Sweet 16, but you can also advance all the way. So, I saw Torian Green today because the Brown brothers actually spoke over there. I went and caught them because a couple Orlando guys, very good, great personality.
Great family, too.
A.J. Brown told me that Isaiah Brown is the best athlete on the team. And I said, hold on, best athlete? And he said, hey, man, I just call a spade a spade. Ask Chris Harry. He said has serious vertical.
Okay.
And he's a big kid, too. His brother's put together in a different way and looks maybe more impressive. Like he's built like more cut. Isaiah's big. Yeah. He's got some size. And if he can play above the rim and like Chris Harry mentioned, his brother, interesting, because he's a guy who's he's got to be 8th, 9th, or 10th in that mix right now. You got to think. So if you got that kind of athletic ability and explosiveness and on your 8th, 9th, 10th guy, I mean, you got a hell of a roster. So anyway.
Yeah, and I think you talk about and you're talking about a team that has a guy like CJ Ingram, his athletic ability, would have been a 5-star football recruit if he wanted to be. I mean, so yeah, you talk about that kind of athleticism on that kind of team, 8, 9 down the bench. Yeah, I mean, I think this team is on their way for sure. But
so Torian, I said, how's it looking? He goes, we're coming along. So, but this is a guy who won 2 national titles in this high. So he's not like gonna pump this team up yet. So we'll see. I mean, as you said, tested early, week from Monday, Arizona and Las Vegas, and it'll get rolling fast. Come out.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Well, changing back to the obvious, Edgar. We had the dismissal of Billy Napier, as football coach. Kind of saw it coming, was able to kind of save himself last season with the end. But, we knew if things didn't get off great, the Boo Birds would come back again. And, you chronicled the whole thing. You kind of tried to be as objective as you could and stay fast. But, for somebody who is on this beat on a consistent basis, I mean, just break it down. I mean, I don't want to linger too long, but just what was it that made this just a historical, just lack? I don't want to say failure. I hate that, but just a lack of.
It was. I mean, it was a failure on the field. Now, in terms of if we praise Billy quickly, in terms of the organization, the ushering in the Heavener, creating a player experience on another level, the housing, the parking, all these things, right? Gator made. I don't know that I think that's something that's kind of putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion. You do that once you're kind of established in a championship program, rather than make the investment of time and resources to that. But it maybe touched and shaped lives. So Billy did that on a lot of levels. But the product itself on Saturday just wasn't up to snuff, to the point where his last game was so on brand. It was crazy. You go to the rollout on 3rd and 1, totally for, a 7-yard sack. You go to the quarterback option play that DJ kept it. And I thought it was a keeper, but then I was told later, it was
RPO or something, yeah.
Well, it was a cover 0, and he needed to read that, and then you were going to be able to throw it. Didn't, and then you set up a field goal that goes from 33, 4 yards to 54. You need Trey Smack to basically be channeling Tom Dempsey or Jason, hitting like 2 bombs.
Right. Yeah.
And then you need a 349-pound nose tackle, 19-year-old kid to, make an athletic play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And stupid call maybe from Mississippi State and a bad read by Blake Shapen. But he came through and it was exciting in the Swamp, but then it went from excitement to, basically, honestly, I'll say consternation, but almost cruelty, booing Billy Napier off the field. And it's like, I heard his wife and kids were in the tunnel, like in tears.
Yeah.
Billy barely held it together to a question I asked about how are you this uncertain future, the excitement and the reception leaving the field. How do you handle it all? What are you thinking? And he started to on his love of the game and got choked up just a bit.
Yeah.
Kept his composure, but he handled himself with grace until the end. But the negative 48.8% winning percentage, the worst since Raymond Wolf, 46-49. Bob Woodruff was 55%, and 10 subsequent coaches were all better than even that. So, and many were in the 60s, 70s. Urban might have been even in the 80s. Spurrier maybe 2. But those are the 2 icons, that coached here. The point being, his record was just so poor, and he was 0-14 against ranked teams on the road. 5-17, I think, overall against ranked teams. His Swamp record was a modest 17-8, where you need to win at a higher percentage than that. So it just really on any front. And then the offenses that he refused to, get help and hand over, ranked 13th this year, 12th last year, with a guy like DJ Lagway and talent like Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, Jaden Baugh. You just got to look at it and just say it just wasn't working. And I don't know even if he'd hired an offensive coordinator, his game management was very poor and things like that. But would he have done better at that? Scott even suggested part of the reason we're up here right now is because conversations about maybe letting go of that and organizing overall the operation went nowhere. And Billy decided to do what he did, and you evaluate a coach based on his decisions, and he made a fateful one there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that you're spot on, and that's the point that I think you made and I've made is, hiring offensive coordinator. Maybe we're not here talking about this. Maybe we are. Maybe he's getting ready to coach against Georgia. But I agree with you. The game management, the day-to-day, not being able, worrying about calling plays instead of handling the day-to-day, going over and checking on, not that Mike Peterson's doing a bad job with the edges, but going over and just checking on the edges, going and checking on Chapman and the D-line, going over and really seeing what Rob Sale is doing and make sure that's being done, checking out the DBs and Sunseri and those guys and just overseeing it all to make sure that the tempo and the thing, just during a week to week, but also that. But then the one thing I think he failed at, and you can maybe talk me off the ledge on this because you do this on a consistent basis, but a lack of transparency. I know that some of our colleagues were frustrated with some of that, but just what I deemed as just a so-so relationship with the media, the ability to let the media in for you all to do this on a consistent basis, to really, engage. Did you feel that way, or is that something that maybe I'm overstating it a little bit?
What, in terms of what, like opening practice and things?
Well, just or even just the way you answer questions, the same answer. There was never any, it was almost like very little emotion, win, loss. But yeah, even opening up practice or just giving people something to say, okay, I've seen this and it's not what you think. It's this here.
I will say that most coaches don't open practice anymore, and I don't really understand that personally. I'm not going to say it hurts our reporting, but it certainly doesn't give us an idea of things. But there's such a crush to report injuries, like certain media entities are just injury obsessed. And I don't think Billy wants all that out. He feels like that's like, I always joke, it's like omerta with him, like keep everything in the family, right? Don't speak outside, don't be Fredo, right? And I don't think he wanted stuff out, and he didn't think it was our business. And so I think injuries were part of him keeping us out. You know, the minute to minute evaluation on social media, you know, this guy's no good, this kid's struggling, that stuff kind of gets to be, you know, noise that you don't really need. So I get it. But it still would be nice to get some eyes on the team a little bit more often than we did. In terms of his, you know, being forthcoming on injuries, I don't think a lot of guys are doing that anymore. I remember when Dan Mullen got here and had a very good relationship with Dan. I asked him straight up, first time, what's your philosophy on releasing injuries? He goes, I don't talk about them. So we knew where we stood there with him. So many of them are like that. In terms of like answering questions, sometimes he would push back on the obvious, which I found a little frustrating at times, but he wasn't bad about that. Mm-hmm. And he certainly was respectful at every turn. And I had chances to maybe sit down with him a couple of times. And, you know, I remember I went in last year to do a story before the Gasparilla Bowl on kind of what his roller coaster season. And he was like, I was like, and he was behind, right? And there were kids piled up out on the sofa and around the waiting to talk to him, probably about NIL and things like that. But who knows? He's dealing with all that stuff too. And I walk in and go, Billy, man, I know you don't have much time. What do you got? Just so I know. Whatever you need, big dog. And we were in there like 30, 45 minutes. I got a really good story out of it. He treated me well. I remember media day 2 years ago. I walk out. It's like 9:58. I thought I could go slip into one of the bathrooms real quick. We've been in there since 7 or 8 o'clock, and I'm drinking coffee and water the whole time. And I need to go use the restroom. And I go, oh, shoot, Billy. And he goes, I said, they're locked up. I'll do it after you. He goes, no, come with me. Walk me back to the coach's office. Let me use the bathroom. And he was I don't know, man. I thought he was a good dude. I didn't think his delivery was dynamic, but if you really listened to what he said or read it afterward, there was a lot of thought into what he said. He put pieces together, I thought, intelligently. I mean, he was certainly an intelligent guy. You don't make $7.5 million if you're stupid. And I don't think he fell ass backwards in this job and lucked into it. He worked his tail off for it. He knew how to evaluate players. He put together a good roster. He did a lot of things well, but it just didn't work on Saturdays. And yeah, presentation, if it's Lane Kiffin, for example, I mean, he'll be a breath of fresh air in front of the microphone and all that. But I also don't want to be, having to write about a picture he tweets at 7:38 on a Saturday after he did hot yoga with half the freaking cheerleading squad. So I'm just like, I mean, that could be a pain in the ass. So there's always good and bad, but the football wasn't fun to watch. And I don't know why. I have theories, like offensive coordinator starting there. His staff, I don't think, was exceptional. I think the one guy that I think has really kind of shined is Gerald Chapman. Mm-hmm. Good. I mean, he's working with some young guys. Lost Caleb Banks. Jamari Lyons is clearly not what they were hoping. Probably still because of his injury, maybe. And Mbachu and McLeod and Burrow, and these kids are developing and growing. I tell you, the next coach, I would keep him in mind to maybe keep him along. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think the staff was necessarily exceptional, and I heard that from others. And he hired young defensive coordinators until he finally went back to Ron Roberts, who is doing a good job, clearly. So just a lot of factors, man, turnover and things like that. And he was also kind of slow to act in the portal at times. I don't know who that cost them necessarily. I think his portal record ultimately wasn't bad. It was pretty good, actually. Mm-hmm. But I think there were some misses maybe early on. So, yeah. I mean, DJ didn't develop this year. Injuries were a big part of that. But could he coach quarterbacks? I mean, Billy Gonzalez, last thought I'll share, I think it's pretty telling that he's talking about the collaborative effort on offense is what he's used to, right? And he's going to start doing that. Rob Sale, Gerard Jalouk in charge of the run game, Callaway and O'Hare in charge of passing. But Ryan O'Hare's calling the plays. And the comment that he made, I thought was telling, is talked about the green dot and working closely with the quarterback, which I was kind of found interesting because it tells me that maybe Billy wasn't modernizing with this green dot usage as well as he could, or capitalizing on it as well as maybe Billy and Ryan O'Hara thought or think it could be used effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think we're going to see some offensive changes. And I mean, I'm not, believing they're going to go beat Georgia, but I'm kind of excited to see what they come up with.
Yeah, me too. I think that, so clarify that, because I was actually talking to Shane Matthews today about that. So I was under the assumption that Russ Callaway would be calling the plays, but when they were relayed to DJ, it would be Ryan O'Hara getting the plays from Russ and sending them into DJ. That's not the case? So Ryan O'Hara will be the play caller as well as the guy talking to DJ. Is that?
Yes, he will. And what's interesting about that is on Twitter, someone asked the same thing, thinking that I'd misheard it because I tweeted that it would be Callaway, Ryan O'Hara over calling the plays and Callaway over seeing it, the whole operation. And he said, I think you didn't hear that correctly. So I even went up to Billy afterwards, and I've known Billy 20 years. I mean, I was here when Urban got here, and I left for a good while. But I mean, Billy and I did three amigos, him, John Hevesy, and Dan, who went back to 2001 at Bowling Green together. So I've talked to Billy and I know him. And I said, hey, just to get this straight, and it is O'Hara will be calling the plays.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. We'll bring in Nora Ram real quick before we let you go, Edgar. But I do want to ask you, as Nora Ram for the Gainesville Sun.
What's going on, Edgar?
And so, Edgar, your thoughts on where the Gators go next, what you've heard, and, who you like, or, be a fan for a second. And if you were just a Florida fan and take the media out, give me whatever you got on where you think this thing could go.
Well, I said today on Shane, and it was a little bit strongly stated, which I'm prone to do, but I do think that they're not serious enough if they don't try to make a move for Lane Kiffin, period. I'm sorry. You got to overlook some personality stuff. You got to overlook whatever it is. He's not for everybody. I get it. And you go back to the Tennessee thing in 2009 where he was tweaking Urban and almost like implying they were going to screw some facts up from some kids so that they would get this receiver from Pahokee. It goes way back. And he was brash. He got fired on the runway at USC. Then he went and Nick Saban jettisoned him because he went to FAU before the bowl game or before the championship game. And Deshaun Watson and them beat him. And Sark calling the plays. Kiffin modernized Nick Saban's offense. He went from opposing up-tempo offense at 2013 SEC Media Days because Gus Malzahn, who almost won a national title doing it against Florida State, to hiring Lane Kiffin. And I covered the game there in 14. First play of the game, 87 yards to Kenyon Drake. And, they blew him out. And he was an exceptional coach even then. I think he's top 3 offense every year at Ole Miss, number 1 3 different times, 2021, 24. He's got a kid from Ferris State who is going to be a backup, who's lighting it up, playing a lot better than DJ Lagway. Can you imagine if DJ can get healthy and then he can go on and, work with Lane Kiffin with these 2 receivers and Jaden Baugh? And it could be pretty explosive, to say the least, and exciting. And he's going to be great in front of the mic, and fans are going to love him. He's going to energize the fan base, the donor base, which is critical with $1 billion+ renovation coming on the Swamp. If you go from him, I don't think Marcus Freeman's leaving the Golden Dome, and I wouldn't if I were him. Get him to loosen the restrictions on the portal a bit. That's the only holdup, it seems, with him. He can't get certain portal guys. Eli Drinkwitz doesn't excite me. I think he's thrived on an easy schedule and some favorable state laws with NIL to get certain guys that he might not have gotten otherwise. Luther Burden leading the class there. And you got some other guys. I threw Jed Fish out there where he's got ties here to the school. You know, Jeff Brom, I was told today from like one of his closest friends, he less than zero chance he's leaving Louisville.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he's from there. He went there.
Brett Lashley's from Arkansas. I think
Yeah.
they're going to get him.
Absolutely.
I think Sonny Dykes at TCU would be a very intriguing candidate. That guy put together the dang air raid with Hal Mum and Mummy and Mike Leach, but he'd be interesting. But you know, would fans even like buy into that at all? So
no, I don't think so.
It's like lane train or bust in so many respects, but the timetable's complicated. And here's the problem, man. And Noah can go into this because I'll give him the floor here. Is you count on Lane, you wait for Lane, he leaves you at the altar because he can be a little bit capricious and fickle. And suddenly it's like, oh, who do we got now? I mean,
yeah, now what? I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that, you know, we'll get Noah's thoughts. I don't know if you could stay, Edgar, but
no,
you know, what's that now?
I'd love to hear what Noah's got.
Oh yeah. So I mean, Noah, you follow it, you're in it, you work with Kevin Brockway, you guys do a great job there. I mean, you guys are in these circles and you know, names that you've heard. And my thing, and to Edgar's point, is everybody, I mean, I've been talking to everybody for the last 3 days, and it's Lane, a little bit of Marcus Freeman. And I know Marcus and know his situation, know his family. And I coach his brother in the All-Star game. I don't think he leaves Notre Dame for so many reasons. If you want me to break it down, one is I think he wants to be the next coach at Ohio State should Ryan Day leave. So that's, I mean, I can give you that, but then I can break it down even more. But Noah, I mean, outside of Lane Kiffin, is there another so-called home run? I mean, everybody says this has to be a home run hire. And then when I give them names, they're like, nah, that ain't the one. So it seems like Kiffin is the only one, Noah, to take this thing home.
I agree that he is obviously, you know, I completely agree with what Edgar said. He has to be the first name you call. I think he has to be, you know, I think you need to, given his connection to the state, to the program, I think you have to, you know, you have to reach out to him. I think, you know, and I think one of the comments said this, I think Eli Drinkowitz is another potentially very good hire. I think, you know, what he's done there at that Missouri program, you know, to make them, well, and I also think he's more of a he's more gettable than Lane is. My whole thing about Lane is, I just think the issue is now is just I don't think he's going to say yes to Florida, to be honest, unless, you know, because right now it seems like Mississippi State or Ole Miss, excuse me, is going to be able to match. Probably, you know, we'll find the money's going to give. So you're relying on him to basically just acknowledge this, which I think it probably is, but I also think he's built up a good program there. And, you know, that's someone who's waited all these years, you know, dealt with Nick Saban, dealt with, you know, with the peak of Kirby in Georgia to build up a program to be at the top of the SEC. And he's gotten there. I know they lost obviously last week, but they are, I don't see any reason why they're not one of the top programs right now in the conference. You know, and would he leave that to go to a program that hasn't had success in the last half decade? I don't know. I think with a name like Eli Drinkowitz, that's a program where you almost get the vibe he has sort of peaked a little bit at Mizzou. And I don't really know what the potential is, especially again when you're in a conference where you're kind of already not really a natural fit there. You know, you're not a traditional SEC power. I just think that would be another name that'd be in there. I think that would be a name that would potentially, you know, excite the fan base. I agree. I don't think Sonny Dykes I think he's a good coach. I think Jed Fish is a great coach as well. I just don't think that they're going to, you know, not that exciting the fan base is the priority of hiring a new coach, but, you know, I think all of them would be better hires than Billy Napier was, but still, I mean, I think you have to go for the big name. And I also think this team is in a better spot than maybe it was when Napier got hired. If you can get DJ Lagwa to stay, I think he's still someone talent-wise who's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference and one of the best quarterbacks in the country, I still think, even despite what he's shown this season. We know what Jaden Baugh is. We know what the receivers can do. And that's not even talking about the defense and, you know, and what they've shown this season. So I think it's still a really appealing job. And it's still a job that, you know, there's a reason that this team was still ranked in the top 15 to start the season. So I think you can get one of the big names. Now, will Lane necessarily come here? No, not necessarily. But you got to try. You got to try. And I think you make a push for Marcus Freeman. I agree with you, Loren. I don't think Marcus Freeman is going to happen. But you got to make a push. You got to just see what happens. Because, again, this is still a really, really appealing job.
No doubt. And, this week's segue real quick is talking about talent and doing big things. The people at Meldon Law, the only official law firm of the Florida Gators, proven and skilled lawyers since 1971, doing a lot of great things. It's Florida Georgia week. I encourage you guys to get on. They got some giveaways. One is a great weekend. I think I'm trying to win it. It's a 2-night stay, steak dinner at the Florida Georgia game. I mean, anybody would like that. And once again, for all your law needs, if you have a situation where they can't help you with, but you need something, they can point you in the right direction to someone that can help you with your law needs. They helped Buddy Martin with a couple things and did really good work for him. So definitely check out Meldon Law, proven and skilled injury lawyers since 1971. Meldon Law, we won't back down. Now with that, guys, so is there a home outside of Lane Kiffin? Is there a home run? I mean, it's to this point where, you guys know we kind of do this thing, hyper have at it, kind of go at it, and we'll kind of do that. I mean, is it Lane or someone else? Hyper have at it. If it's hype, then, Lane isn't coming. If it's have at it, there's someone else, is it? So in your opinion, Edgar, does Lane Kiffin show up in Gainesville sometime late December, early January?
Loren, you confused. I mean, look, I'm not hip enough for that.
So it's like, if Lane is coming, if Lane isn't coming, it's hype. If Lane is coming, it's have at it.
I say have at it. I think Lane is going to come. I think he has affinity for this program based on his ex-wife's deep ties to it, going back to, her dad, John Reeves, of course. The fact he grew up in Tampa when Steve Spurrier had it up and running. I think, again, Vaught Hemingway Stadium is good atmosphere, but it's not the Swamp.
No, it's not.
You're not like 2-hour radius in all directions from Southern Georgia, from Jacksonville, from Tampa, from Orlando. Plus, he's got the dynamic personality to kind of fit the South Florida vibe too. I think that he could recruit incredibly well in the state. And he's not known for his great recruiting. I mean, like at the level you would think it would be. I mean, he's solid, but he isn't like elite like Kirby or some of these guys, Ryan Day or whatever, at the recruiting front, Sark. But he could be here because it's harder at Ole Miss to sell that. I mean, there's the tradition. It goes back like to Johnny Vaught, like in the early 60s. Archie Manning in the late 60s. I mean, you had very few pockets of success there. I mean, Eli for a couple of years. But so I think he has a lot more to sell here. He's got a big, I don't know. I think I think he's coming. But you know what it's going to require? Probably a salary north of $13 million to get this guy. You're going to have to make him the highest paid coach in college football. And you better be damn sure that he's going to come here and be up for it in terms of knowing the fan base is going to be on you if it's not like perfection, which is fine. They should expect perfection, especially once the Swamp renovation's over and the price of the ticket can be huge. So I think he's going to come. I think we're going to have to wait for it, and everyone's going to be in pins and needles, but I think in the end, they're going to find a way to get him. I'm not basing that on anything, but just that it just seems too obvious. Like, so why try to overcomplicate it?
Yeah. Noah, what do you think? Hyper have at it. Lane or someone else?
I think I was initially going to say hype, but I think I'm going to say have at it just because listening to Edgar, it made me think about, he clearly has an ego. I think he might, at least judging how he's acting recently, he might have the biggest ego of any coach right now in college football, which is a pretty impressive title to have, given who's coaching these days. And I think, I'm not saying he can't accomplish more. Certainly he could win a national title, which would be the holy grail at Ole Miss, but he's already the greatest coach that's been there, since Johnny Vaught. I'm pretty sure it's pretty clear he's their best coach. and just the highs you can reach at Florida are just at another level. And I think that gets to you, again, going back to ego, that gets to you. The fact that he can be, this program has really, has really had, two great coaches, but man, have they been great coaches. And I think that he knows that you can get into that category. You can, where, it's a first name basis, Steve and Urban, you can get there and you would be beloved by the fan base. And we saw when things were high, how beloved Dan Mullen was. And he, they never played for a national title. They were never even really a serious contender. And he was still beloved when things were going well. This is a program that is desperate for a winner. And it's a different way. I know Ole Miss was when they hired him, and it's obviously worked out well, but it's different in Florida. It's a different type of feel. And I think that's something that's going to have an effect on him. And, like Edgar said, he knows from this state, he knows what this school means. He knows, the reach, not just in North Central Florida, but in Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Jacksonville, and not outside the state, with the alumni base that the school has. Like it really is just a level you can get to that not many schools in the country can match. And I think that's going to appeal to him, but you are going to have to pay him because, again, I think Ole Miss is going to find any money. And we think Florida is digging into the NIL money and trying to make sure the boosters pay. Ole Miss is definitely doing that too, because they, he's kept them relevant. He's kept them a relevant program. I know again, they were relevant shortly before he got there, but consistently, he's kept them a good program. They're going to want to keep him. So you're going to have to be willing to pay him, and you're going to have to, I think it's worth it, but it's going to come with some sacrifices. But I think if they pay him enough, I think he will be coming.
Do you know James DiVirgilio?
I do. I had him on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to him earlier, and so I'll credit him because it was a good take. He didn't exactly say off Broadway, but he said it's like if you're a Broadway fan and it's like your 11th show you go to, it'd be like Lane Kiffin. But I'll say he's like an off Broadway show, whereas the Gators are like the marquee show, right? You can be the profile, the interest, nationally. I don't know how much national attention Ole Miss garners unless it was like unbeaten, like 8-9-0 or whatever, or an Alabama game, let's say. Whereas Florida, man, you are going to be national. You're just a national brand. Yeah. And Ole Miss isn't. And as Noah says, Lane loves that spotlight, man. He puts himself in it all the time.
Fights to stay relevant, no doubt. Hyper, have at it. Kiffin or someone else, Lagway stays or goes. A lot of thought about what will happen with DJ Lagway. He has a lot of investment in the Florida community. We'll leave it at that. But Noah, Hyper, have at it. Lagway stays or goes.
I guess him staying would be have at it. Is that correct?
Have at it. Yeah, correct.
I think have at it. I think part of that is, I hate to say this, but just the season he's had. I mean, his value on the portal is not what we thought it would be. If, let's say, Napier got fired this season. Now there's still 5 games left. We'll see what happens. Still almost half the season. But I think especially if you get Lane, I think he'll understand. I mean, again, the quarterback that he's doing it with now, he had Jackson Dart last year, who's starting in the NFL right now, but he doesn't have that this year, and that offense is still good. So it's like, I think DJ is going to understand that. I think it clearly has to go beyond Billy Napier. I just go back to the fact this is someone who could have gotten to any program in the country and probably would have started, maybe not as soon, probably would have started by a sophomore year, just given his talent coming out of high school. And he chose Florida. And I think obviously Billy Napier was a large reason for that. But maybe he does genuinely have a love for this town, for this school. I think that clearly there's some pull that it has on him. And I don't think he's going to, I think he's someone who's committed. He's a good leader. I think he's maybe a little bit more old fashioned in the sense that he understands the value of, staying at one place. Now, again, if things go well next year, he might only have one more year left at Florida after this year, because obviously he can go to the draft after 26. But, I think he will stay. I think that was something that maybe last year I didn't think was going to happen if Napier got fired, but I think a bunch of factors, again, probably chief among them, him not being the level we thought he was going to be. I think he will be in a Gator uniform next year.
Edgar, Hyper, have at it. Lagway stays.
Have at it. I think DJ, unless it's all show, is committed. He's the kind of, he says, I'm the kind of guy, when I give my word, I do something. And I think he's a really upstanding young man. Now he's getting paid a king's ransom, and that certainly helped attract him. But he could have gotten more at other schools. Believe me, after last season, he could have made another $1 million or more at another school easily. And I think I've been told he loves the Swamp, just loves playing in the Swamp. A lot to love about playing in the Swamp.
No doubt.
And a guy walks into a basketball game last year and they're chanting DJ Lagway. I mean, he's a celebrity. He's, and I think, as Noah said, he's got something to prove. He is not happy with the way he's been playing at all. And he was pissed after A&M. He couldn't have been happy after the other night. I mean, he had some moments, but he screwed up that play at the end, by all accounts, through a couple of really bad picks.
Yeah.
And, the 3rd and 1, I mean, was chopped right down for a second. I mean, he just hasn't had a good year. And if you go look last year, he had a dozen 40-yard throws. He has 4 right now. He was averaging 10 yards at attempt, second to Jackson Dart nationally. He's averaging 6.8 right now, and that's a big improvement. It has been a bad year. 5 interceptions at LSU. I mean, this young man, 61 passing yards at Miami. Everyone knows how bad it's been, and he wasn't ever healthy. So maybe that sours him. I was never healthy. I don't think I was, got the treatment or whatever. If he thinks something like he could go get healthy somewhere else and whatever, I don't know that that's in his calculus at all. I'm just saying, if there was something behind the scenes like that, potentially, I think he'll be back. And I think if the lane train's rolling into Gainesville, he will know that he's going to be playing in an electric offense where he can really show his wares.
I also think the other thing is, let's not forget the amount of weapons that are on this offense. And we'll all be back next year. I mean, you get to play with Jaden Baugh. You get to play with Dallas Wilson, with Vernell Brown. I mean, that's a loaded offense. I mean, I don't think there are really any other schools, especially given that the 2 receivers are freshmen, assuming they take a leap their sophomore year. I don't think many other schools in the country can compete with that. So I think, that all those guys, not just DJ, I think they'll all be back next year.
I mean, Trey Wilson,
yeah.
He isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nowhere to go. I mean, he could go in the portal, but I'm saying he ain't going to the pros.
Right.
And my Lord, he has been miscast. And maybe he's no good. I mean, you would think he's no good based on what's going on. I can't believe Trey Wilson's just
I think it's system. I agree. I think you get the right guy with some innovative, diverse offensive schemes. I think all those guys flourish because you're going to be spreading around. Maybe you see it. Yeah, I mean, you got Miles.
He can stay healthy. Could be awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I also think it's like, besides maybe Dallas Wilson, just because he's, we've seen from the beginning the talent he has, and DJ wanting to get involved. All these guys, I think they all really respect Billy as a man, I think as a coach, but they have to know that they have all been miscast. I mean, Jaden Baugh, if I was Jaden Baugh, I think he could be in for a huge last 5 games. I'd be furious if I were him, just in the sense that this is someone when he gets the ball, looks like one of the best running backs in the country. Yeah. Rushes for 150 yards on Saturday, gets 13 carries. Yeah. This is someone who just has not been involved in the offense the way he should. And he's someone who, I think, next year is going to be his year where he can potentially go to the draft after 26. Like, all these guys next year, and even the rest of this season, are going to be are going to want to make a statement on offense.
All right. Billy Gonzalez takes over. Last one for this team. This is a team that has Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State waiting in the wings. Can this team get bowl eligible with this squad? Obviously, we talked about the talent and weapons. Hyper have that at Edgar. They'll be playing in late November. I mean, I guess early December, late December, middle of December. Probably be the Gasparilla again, but
I joke with Mark Long on the podcast we do that I'm a piece of driftwood. I'm going to say have at it, because I do think they can win at Kentucky. I think they're pretty dreadful offensively. They can beat Florida State, which is a dumpster fire. And so you got to pick off one. It's presumably going to be Tennessee. And that's going to be the game that decides it. It's in the Swamp. Hypo hasn't done really well in the Swamp. And if that's 4 games from now, you got to figure that you got like your plan in place and it's running. And it's all hinges on DJ Lagway. I mean, I wrote the other day that he was, second half surge was the only thing that could possibly save Billy Napier by this kid. And I don't know, even if they'd won, 51-10 like Jimbo did and got fired, they probably wouldn't have done that. But he, in a new system with a comfort level, maybe with O'Hare, different play calling, some spread formations, some things like that. I mean, this offense, if it's just a touchdown better, which is a lot, but one touchdown more a game, they're maybe winning at LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, they were only trailing A&M 24-17 for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That 4th and 6 debacle.
Right.
And, Miami, I mean, the game was, I don't want to say nip and tuck, but it was, 13-7 when they were like in range. They could have kicked a field goal there. So you get a little more going on offense. This defense has played quite well. Yeah,
despite the moving parts too, no doubt. Noah?
I say clear have at it, in my opinion. I think, do I think they're going to go 7-5? Probably not, although I wouldn't be. I think they're actually more likely to go 7-5 at this point than go 5-7. I think 6-6 is by far the most likely outcome. But I just think I thought 6-6 and after they managed to steal the game Saturday, I thought was going to happen, even if Billy Napier did keep his job, just because, like Edgar said, FSU is a dumpster fire. I think we're looking at a situation. You can't beat Stanford on the road. They might not win a game the rest of the season, the way things are going for them. Kentucky, I know the fear of all fans. Again, the crazy thing is, if you look at history, they're more likely to beat Tennessee than they are to beat Kentucky. That's the funny thing, just because of how things have gone. I know every fan is fearful, especially of going to Kentucky. Kentucky's just not a good team this year. I mean, they struggled to put away Toledo the first week. I mean, this is not a program that's in a good place. I know they have a good defense, and they, might be a low scoring game, but I think that, and then I think, it comes down to Tennessee and, like Edgar said, Heupel's not been good in the swamp. And I think, we'll see what Tennessee is at for that game. I will say Tennessee might be playing to get into the playoffs at that point, sort of, but Ole Miss was in that spot last year and it didn't matter. Florida still beat them. So it's like, I think that I think that those are games that I think, again, I think the other two games are more difficult. So be great. You beat Georgia, you beat Ole Miss. Those are the, you really feel good then if you get those wins. But I think that, I think if they had maybe gone with, Ron Roberts as interim and you're switching up the whole team, but I think you get someone like Billy Gonzalez, who's so beloved by the players seemingly, and you get to keep the same scheme on defense. If anything, the changes that are coming offensively with Ryan O'Hara are positive. I don't think that this is something that's going to hurt the team. If anything, I think, again, it will be a galvanizing thing, and I think they're going to, play a lot better now. Again, I think if the schedule was a little easier, they could be even better, but it's just beating Georgia's tough, and winning it at Ole Miss especially tough.
No doubt.
So, but those two games at home and then Kentucky, it's a pretty manageable slate. And I think probably the Gasparilla Bowl again, the Birmingham Bowl, one of those low tier bowl games. But they will be back in a bowl game again.
No doubt. And just before you guys go, we do this every week, trying to get a little sneaker plug, but the kicks of the week kind of been showing kicks for the game, a little off week. So if you catch me in Orlando, I'll probably be in these on Saturday, kind of making things. But it's the Air Max, came out a couple years ago, the 1853. So StockX, GOAT, one of those guys, Flight Club, holla at us, we got you. But that's this week's kicks of the week. So, but
Guest
appreciate you.
Those?
What's that?
Guests are given a pair of those.
I wish. If we get that sponsorship, I got you. What size are you, Edgar?
10.5.
10.5. Okay. Yeah, I'm 11, but we got you. But so what are you guys working on, Edgar? A little off week. What we got going?
Well, I'm gonna just write something about Billy G tomorrow. I've written a lot the last couple of days. Mark Long and I are doing a pod. I'm gonna work on a couple of things ahead. I mean, I got to do something on basketball for one. But, I mean, I want to do a couple for profiles on some players. I mean, like get ahead for senior week, maybe do one on one of the good seniors. And, Miles Graham always fascinates me. I think I'm in love with the kid. So he's just the best. So I might do something on him. I think Noah might have written a story on him, or one of you guys did one. I read that was good. Yeah, look, you got to keep writing stuff on the team, but everyone's all about Lane Kiffin and who's the next guy. So you got to give fans some of that too. But I just don't want to get so into speculation at this point. And we're talking a month, 6 weeks before this decision's coming, man. I don't want to start just burning out those kind of stories yet.
Right. No doubt. Noah, what you got?
I'll be kind of in the angle, the angle of kind of what is still my my primary beat, which is prep. So we are lucky here that obviously we got a couple of coaches in the area that have deep connections to the program. Obviously, Ernest Graham is at Santa Fe now in Alachua, Cornelius Ingram is at Hawthorne, and they obviously know what's going on. They coach kids that are at UF now. Obviously Ernest's son is there. And Ed, you'd appreciate this. I talked to Ernest this afternoon. I said, your son is the best 19-year-old interview in the entire world. I said, everyone in the media, we love talking to him. He really is. He's the best. So I'll be working on that and just how it, from a local aspect, just what they think about Florida, what the kind of job that it is. Just kind of with that aspect and just being on top of the recruiting, and seeing if anyone is going to decommit now. I don't think we'll see a lot. I think if anything, we'll see it more so when the new coach gets picked. I think everyone's so worried about the decommitting. I think there's also potential if you get Lane Kiffin, you get guys to flip to Florida. I think that's a real possibility, especially when you look at where FSU is right now.
But what about the timetable now? It's December 3rd. That's
right.
The problem.
That's the problem. So it's like, I don't know if, but we saw it with Dallas Wilson last year. That was right around Christmas that he flipped. Guys will find ways to get out of even if they are signed early. They'll get.
Well, there is a signing day this first week of February, and
that too.
Wayne works it behind the scenes a little bit, thinking he might take this job. He might say, "Hey, hold off."
Yeah. Right, and they might get a lot of. I know Ole Miss again doesn't recruit at the level that Florida does, but he still gets recruits, and maybe a lot of those kids follow him to Florida. I think that's a real possibility. So we'll kind of be looking at that angle a little bit. But yeah, I totally agree with Edgar. You also don't want to completely ignore. There's a lot of guys, Jake Slaughter. There's a lot of guys who won't be playing next year for the new coach, and I think we can't forget those guys. Those are guys who have given, who have dealt with a lot of losses. And haven't always had the easiest go around with the program, but have given it their all and have done a lot of good things.
All right, no doubt, guys. Well, we kept you a little long, but before you go, we'll tell the folks about Titan MRI and Imaging. Titan MRI and Imaging has several locations, 2 in Gainesville, 1 at the Millennium Center, and serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia, and Lake City. And they are the premier diagnostic testing and MRI facility in this area. They have larger MRI machines for those of us that are claustrophobic, no insurance, no problem. They have cash, self-pay, as well as take most insurances. Everything from CAT scans to MRI to X-ray. Titan MRI is your choice. New location in Ocala, Florida, to better serve all of Central Florida or North Central Florida. And Titan MRI just continues to do great things. North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. Titan MRI and Imaging, it's your choice. And with that, we'll say goodnight. I appreciate my guest, Edgar Thompson, Noah Ram, and super producer Brenden Martin. And we'll see you guys next week, recording live from somewhere. You guys have a good evening.
Thanks you.
A lot.